There is a deep change underway across the United States at the moment, which will have long-standing ramifications for the West in general. As Elon Musk has shown us, the ideology of the left has been spread across our civilizations by finance as well as by moral force. What has been revealed is that the belligerent activists controlling the institutions and the streets were the Praetorian Guard of the hidden money power of the left, which gave them the ability to bring into existence the propaganda networks that could not have come into being organically. The economic power of the US government had been captured by ideologues and turned towards the proselytization of the most radical liberal concepts across the entire globe. Through the secret power of the ledger, billions of taxpayer dollars were funneled over the years towards a vast network of patronage which had supported almost every cancerous leftist growth on the body of our societies. This network of funding represents the nervous system of woke ideology, propping up everything from sex change operations in Guatemala to DEI in Serbia. Moreover, this system connected these most remote extremities to its core, creating an international network of NGO organs which funded a propaganda campaign to protect, reinforce, and advance the moral justification for this ideology. Establishment media organizations such as the New York Times, Politico, Reuters, and even the BBC were collectively paid tens of millions of dollars over the years to promote liberal ideological policy and its agents, and provide rationalizations and justifications for any of the baffling consequences this resulted in, as well as providing an ideological smokescreen against any counterattacks. The structure of this network remained underground, and so we had to deal with the numerous tentacles of the monster, which sprung up unbidden and with unknown abilities to fund themselves. To say that this was all artificial is obviously true. The constituency for woke did not exist anywhere near this magnitude prior to their funding, and had been manufactured to bring forth their bizarre worldview and brainwash it onto our youth. Put simply, the power and prestige of our institutions had been co-opted by these financial and moral incentives towards a theory of the world that was not true. In taking control of the governing apparatus of the United States and allowing Elon's Doge to audit exactly what the federal government was doing, it has shown us that the temporal power of woke ideology is a house of cards which can easily be knocked down. The Trump administration is now able to rip out this economic nervous system, which will in turn cause each of its tentacles to relax their grip. The institutional paralysis this process of defunding has caused is at once remarkable and also completely to be expected. How can they continue to squeeze us if they have no strength left in their arms? It is only through the power that they wielded that they could hold us down, and if the impulses don't make it from the brain to the limb, they can do nothing at all. It is simply incredible to see the number of media organizations that suddenly grind to a halt without this federal funding. Politico was apparently unable to pay their staff. The BBC posted a panicked update, and numerous left-wing streamers have started panhandling to their audiences. Notably, right-wing media appears to have suffered no impact at all from this. For example, we at lotuseaters.com have lost nothing from these revelations, because we as an institution are funded organically by members of the general public who appreciate the work we do and want to ensure that we can continue to do it into the future. There is simply no possibility of continuing the current left-wing regime without the external powers that propped it up. The falsehoods about what it is to be human will all fall away as reality is allowed to reassert itself. The left-wing attack on the inherent identities of Westerners will dissolve and drain away, and people in the future will look back on the moral confusion of the beginning of the 21st century in bewilderment. Why would they have done any of the things they'd done? Future historians will attempt to try and explain the power of this bizarre cult and its subversive moral agenda, which was able to manipulate millions of people and stigmatize those well-meaning folk who did their best to stand firm against this ideological tide. I love that this is all the culmination of a particular story too. I've spoken extensively about what has happened since 2010 onwards, and how this has taken on the aspect of a modern epic, where the forces of evil slowly but surely gained control of the institutional power which encompasses our society, and then began to gnaw away at the things that made us happy, healthy, and safe. Though these forces began from America, they spread across the West to bring about our ruin, and in many ways they rendered us powerless to resist. It is only appropriate, then, that the hero of the hour comes from America too. In 2016, I was not a Trump supporter. I was just a strident opponent of Hillary and everything she represented. The international liberal order and its desire to remake the world in its own image. I didn't know then the extent of the problems, but it was clear that she, and of course Biden, represented something dark and subversive that would eventually reduce the West to something we ought not to be. Frankly, I thought the idea of Trump running was funny, initially, but his complete rejection of their worldview won me over completely, and after following his career for the last decade or so, it is apparent to me that Trump was the man for the job, and despite all odds, he has won. Against the fury of the liberal establishment, Trump persisted, enduring the slings, arrows, and literal bullets to win this final victory and reveal all of this to us now. And so there is a kind of fairy tale aspect to this third act, as Trump, in a grandfatherly role, surrounded by happy children and their mothers, signs an executive order which bans men from competing in women's sports.
I want to make this a really good signature, because this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Pretty good, huh? I see that. Okay? Good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right? Nice to see you all. Great going, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you.
What ought to be an absurdity becomes the logical and satisfying conclusion to a war that was hard fought, and there is a kind of natural wholesomeness to the entire thing, as if it was the final scene in a movie. The forces of good have triumphed, the forces of evil have been vanquished, and we can look forward to a positive future for our children. A word of caution, though. While in the flush of victory, it's easy to believe that it is all over, the subversive forces of the left have not actually been destroyed. The activists who took control of American civilization may have been dethroned from their positions of power, but this is not the end. Whilst their hateful intellectuals may have been forced to slink back into the fetid caverns of academia from whence they came, they have not changed their tune. As they have done previously, they will stew in their resentment against what is good and decent, and spend the next generation plotting to overthrow the correct moral order of America once again. For them to turn from the path of evil to the path of good would mean for them to look upon themselves honestly, to hold up a mirror and see their vile natures, and admit that it is not the world that must change, but they themselves. And they do not have the moral fortitude required for such a transformative challenge. So instead, they will lick their wounds and watch us for any signs of weakness that they may, in the future, be able to exploit. Moreover, outside of the United States, the left still wields executive power over us. In Britain, Europe, and South America, these villains still oppress us and do everything in their compass to immiserate us. Though I am glad, of course, that our American friends can breathe easily again, please do not forget that many of us are still under the heel of these tyrants, and whilst you might be celebrating your victory, we are still trapped in a hell of their making. Anyway, I am speaking this year at NatalCon, the largest pro-natalist conference in the United States, which is being held in Austin, Texas on March the 28th to 29th this year. I think that the natalist movement is very important, and I'm very proud to have been asked to contribute, as I do believe that the unwillingness for people to start families is going to become the most important issue of the 21st century, and will be a civilizational challenge that we will have to face head on. If you'd like to join me there, you can follow the link in the description to purchase a ticket. Please do use promo code SARGON, all caps, so they know I sent you, and I'll see you there.